tree. I've seen it before in the stillness.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's from Elden Ring. A vastly superior game. This Shiza is called Dustborn. What the hell is the Dustborn? Not one of the dustmen from Planescape Torment, that's for sure. Rather, Dustborn is a name given to this diverse collection of idiots. Chief among them, Pax, and you better get her name right.
Make it across the border
Lady,
wearing that shirt.
my name
and the
is
open
Pax.
bullet wound.
We also have a patronizing, a British they-them persons of ambiguous ethnicity. But who cares? Because they can gaslight you one way or the other. This heavy-set Native American with vitiligo is insufferable. She ticks like 100 boxes, but intelligence is not one of them. Very annoying. One of the redeeming features of this dogshit game is that we're given ample opportunity to talk down to her, though.
From me, huh?
You're letting me down. You
What?
made a promise. We need you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't.
The fuck is up with this animation? And finally, we have Theo, the redundant heterosexual man.
I don't think so. I just have to check in with Nova Scotia.
Don't you have any authority here, Theo?
The plot is a bare-bones cartoonish dystopia. Not really much going on here upstairs. In this distorted version of the USA called the American Republic, the year is 2030, playing a bunch of opportunistic smugglers journeying from the Republic to Pacifica. There's this whole weird backstory about Jackie Kennedy being assassinated and Marilyn Monroe becoming Lady Justice, but it never amounts to more than bizarre in-universe nostalgia.
All over it.
Lady Justice, be still my beating heart.
I figured you'd like it.
Like it? Darling, I adore it.
The characters are anomals, which is basically a ripoff of the X-Men mutants. As mentioned before, the they-them person of ambiguous ethnicity can gaslight people and does so regularly.
You're overreacting, darling. They're actually doing fine.
Obese Native American is like a dumber version of She-Hulk, while Pax is basically just a more bullyish version of the they-them. Basically, they use verbal abuse with hypnosis to influence people.
Shut the hell up!
It doesn't really make any sense, but at least it injects some life into the often dry dialogue. I personally don't mind playing a verbally abusive protagonist, being of chaotic evil alignment myself, but it definitely doesn't frame Pax and her mutant friends as anything less than cruel bullies who rely on intimidation tactics to get what they want. Theo, of course, is not. He is a non-animalous, undercut male character. Seeing a lot of those recently. He's basically only included to show how useless he is, sort of. Basically, he's a reversal of the damsel in distress trope, but it's kind of heavy-handed.
You're doing it again.
What am I?
Theo, you alienate people.
I do.
A good leader listens. You're not listening.
Sorry. I'll try to do better.
One just gets the nagging feeling. Men are pretty much redundant in this world.
Now you decide to show up?
I figured I'd only get in the way.
He was ready to jump into the fray. I told him to stay back and prepare for departure.
I think we did just fine without him.
Visually, the game looks like it's a PS3 title. Vibrant colors and a somewhat charming comic style help hide the fact this is a budget $30 title. But the animations are really janky. You can see this in Pax's macho strut, Sai not moving her head, other things like that which just look a bit weird. The UI interface is one of the few things which is crisp, clear, but sadly the same thing can't be said for the combat system or even the dialogue selects. Combat is awkward and gimmicky, utilizing the weird vocal hypnosis from the main plot, often to ridiculous effect. childish taunts, calling people a loser. It all seems a bit high school for a grown woman in her 30s. But it seems being a woman child is part of the course in this strange America.
Eyes on me.
Point in fact, a lot of these characters are middle-aged. Like, look at Gnome here, she's 37, Theo's in his 40s, Pax mid-30s. You know, the cast are middle-aged, but look at what they're wearing, look at what they're doing. It's weird. A lot of these shortcomings would be forgivable if we had a genuinely layered, multiple branching narrative, but we don't get that at all. Instead, we're just presented with the illusion of choice. Pretty much every decision you make ends up in the same result. Like this here, you have 4 choices, they all cause the same thing to happen, basically. Yeah, just in different ways. So this one, he gets hit by a truck, I think, or something like that. You choose the other options, he just gets hit by a different truck. You can't make this up. The concept of branching narratives converging at the same point is nothing new. We often see Mass Effect given as an example, but I think games like Dustborn are particularly egregious. Why? Because unlike Mass Effect, the illusion of choice is a hindrance to the game mechanics. Well, what little game mechanics are even here to begin with. In Mass Effect, your choices at least affect the character's emotions or subplots. But here, sometimes you only even have one choice that you're forced to make. So there is essentially 0 room to explore like character dynamics, ideologies, anything like that.
Don't touch me.
Hey!
By the way, you've probably noticed that Pax doesn't really like robots that much. Why? Because she's unable to intimidate them with her voice. Nice. Oh yeah, almost forgot to mention that you pick up Pax's sister along the way, and she's probably even a more annoying bitch than Sai.
Happy you're here with me, sis.
I'm not. Shouldn't even be here.
Age range? 30s also. Yep, the whining of a woman child, yet again. Aside from the janky combat, there's also this weird Ghost Hunter-esque kind of mini-game that you're forced to play in the more open areas. And I use the term open area very loosely because you're very restricted in your movements. You can't jump over things, you can't really do much. Then you're forced to analyze the vocals or the sound distortions, as they're called, in this like PSP gaming device. I don't even know what it's called. Another kind of gimmicky mini game that doesn't really do much. It seems the only reason these things have been tacked on is to wake you up from the fact that this is not a TV show or a movie. Turns out these sound distortions are airborne propaganda weapons that linger in the air and feed into far-right conspiracy theories. You are given permission to use the energy derived from these distortions to sow discord of your own if you so wish. These tribal, provincial right-wingers are fair game.
What did you do to me?
Your mind was infected with disinformation.
Liar. She's messing with...
Don't forget to use good old verbal abuse if sowing dissent ain't enough.
You're weak. Even when we were kids, no one liked you. They all teased you for a reason. You're the freak here.
You can also telekinetically push people, which is physical abuse, I guess.
What do you want?
Walk away.
Locations vary between an abandoned high school, trailer parks, women's liberation camp. My favorite is an abandoned mall with this big statue of Jesus Christ. Locations and items you can pick up often contain context clues as to the political background of the country at the moment, but it's pretty superficial. The bone-thin plot also gives us some time to explore some of these strange relationships, most notably between Pax and her sister, which is pretty negative, pretty much dog water, and one of the most uninspiring bonds I've ever seen in my life. I call the sister the misery chick for good reason. They use this pretty egregious plot device where Pax tries to get her to trust her again by making her cross a steel beam, but she gets injured because of it, which is really dumb. In the end, we're expected to believe Pax is the good guy, even though she leads her sister into this and pressures her into this really dangerous situation. The idiot damn nearly gets her killed. Yet we are supposed to buy Pax saving her later somehow makes up for this. Misery Chick's sister is forced to use her powers to escape from behind the wall because of Pax's blunder, but they present it to us as if Pax is the savior, even though she's the one who kind of caused the mess. It's very like Mary Sue treatment, very shabby. Abandon your sister for 15 years, then nearly get her killed. Right. The box ticking exercises continue as we get to meet another plus-sized character. This one we get to throw Molotov cocktails at. We are also introduced to Eli, the only character in his 20s. Misery Chick has a crush on him, which is kind of cringe, given how she behaves and the fact that she's 31 years old.
That's a whole other bag of worms. To each their own, but I'm in charge of my own destiny.
Pax, for fuck's sake, just stop it.
And your destiny is in.
We're also reunited with the robot bus driver, who goes from being a he-him to a she-her. Okay. You would think a robot would identify more with being an it, but adopting gendered personal pronouns for robots seems to have become something of a trend. If you're going to go from it to he, you may as well go from he to she and just complete the voyage full circle. Now, does it function as a dating simulator on top of everything else? Not really. It's really bare bones. From the get-go, it seems that anyone would be valid as a partner, except your sister, of course. But it's not really the case. They kind of shoehorn you into this space where you're already seeing someone, and Gnome, who is the they-them persons, is sort of a sideline choice. It's more of a stringing them along situation, though, where you kind of just indulge an old flame. Pretty despicable behavior on Pax's part, but if you choose to opt for this route like I did, you, I think, unlock some dialogue choices. I'm actually not sure because I don't intend to play this mess again, but I do wonder what exactly the variables are, how the relationship pans out. I mean, there are other party members who leave too, but I think most of it is set in stone. Sometimes depressingly so. I mean, spoiler alert, check out the ending if you string Gnome along for the entire game. Basically, the ending is you string her along for the rest of her fucking life, as you can see here in the depressing comic panel. Which kind of is in character because Pax is a violent, creepy sociopath who will kill anyone who gets in her way.
No one move or I kill him.
Stop! Stop!
Coming to the last leg of the game, things start to feel really rushed as well. So we have this character here, Nai, I think, who's just randomly shoehorned in, and you see her for all of 5 minutes. Which makes me think they had planned originally to make some of the levels a lot longer towards the end, but they weren't. They kind of just, it feels very cut and paste and choppy at the end. Diabolically diverse mess that this game is. Of course, the final boss is the Karen, who Gnome calls the Techno Pope for some reason. robbing her of any credibility or cool factor she might have. Like Justice, she's a cardboard stand-in at most.
Get a chance to chat with you before things escalate. What did you call me?
The game toys with deep themes like language, fate, and identity, but always in a puerile way. Comically so. Sai is a good example of how inauthentic this is, making her somehow Hindu, Muslim, and Native American at the same time. It has a weird vampiric quality to it, since we only ever see her praying in the middle of the night, like she's Dracula or something. And they even have her order pork as a joke. It's a good example of trying to tick too many boxes, so you just confuse yourself. The Mormon faiths and Christian faiths are also presented, but not explored in any great detail. Theo is the Catholic dum-dum, too stupid to even remember his prayers, while the state-formed Mormon Guard remain woefully unexplored. Themes of identity receive a bit more space, as when CT, Caretaker, the robot thing, goes on this philosophical tangent.
And that's when I realized that I'm not just a nanny, or a caretaker, or Justice's facsimile of a domestic woman. I'm more than that. I'm a conduit for the universe.
Good for you. A crying shame no one gives a damn about your robotic ass when you bite the dust. But of these themes, language is by far given the most weight. From your Vox command powers to the power of poetry, it's layered on pretty thick.
The body electric. The armies of those I love engirth me, and I engirth them.
Touching though these poetic passages might be, they are just another example of narrative laziness, borrowing from other writers. If you're going to construct a narrative based around proto-language and the power of language, then you had damn well better got good dialogue. Instead, we're stuck with microaggressions and toilet humor. Although I do admit it has its funny moments.
Death to justice.
He didn't mean that.
Who gives a shit? I'm retiring, bitches.
These moments are pretty rare though. 90% of the time the humor is pretty cringe.
All because of you! And now even Sai is gone, thanks to your selfishness. And you know what? I was wondering, it's just like, if she can't put up with you, then why should I? So fuck you! Oh god. Oh god.
Hazy, what you said earlier, did you want to unpack that further?
Oh wait, that's not humor, that's just people being hateful to each other for no reason. Which is pretty much all the game. Yep, sums up my feelings exactly. Overall, Dustborn falls into so bad it's good category. It's an eyesore, it's an ear-sore, but it is unintentionally hilarious. So if that's your style of humor, it might just be worth its budget price. But wait for it to go on sale.